Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at Windows on Raspberry Pi Build 0.2.8, or you could call it Project Neon 2.0. And as of now, when I'm taking this video, this is still in beta, so if you don't have access to it. The only way you could get access to this beta build if you are either a moderator on the server, or if you donate, or if you boost the server. So there's those two options that you can do. So if you really want to go into some testing and do this, you could either donate to the project of Windows on Raspberry Pi, which you can find on the Discord server, or you could just boost the Discord server and you would have access to this build. So if you have any questions about that, you can just ask that on the Windows on Raspberry Discord server, or you can ask that down below in the comments. So this is what the build looks like. I'm just gonna go in this video. I'm just going over like the features and what the operating system looks like. So I'm a huge fan of this background. It looks really cool, this like plane on the background and these mountains. It has a nice touch to it. And we have the same mouse cursor as we've had since 0.2.5, which I'm a huge fan of. And on this one, we actually have some pre-installed apps, which is a pretty nice addition. So let's start out with Windows on Raspberry control panel. On 0.2.7, which is a public build, this doesn't come pre-installed. You have to install it yourself. But in 0.2.8, it comes pre-installed, which is a pretty nice thing. So it shows our processor, and this is true for our processor. We have our memory and our disks. Oh, it says I have 2 gigs of RAM, and the reason for that is I did not disable the 3 gigs of RAM in my UEFI. So before I go into any testing, I'm gonna go into my UEFI and disable the limit real fast. Okay, so to do that on the UEFI, I just press escape, and I'm gonna go down to Device Manager, Raspberry Pi Configuration, Advanced Configuration, limit RAM to 3 gigs. I don't want that. Disable. And then I'm going to click F10 to save, hit Y, and it's saved. Now I can just click escape and continue, and now it's going to reboot, and I'll be in my Windows system, and I'll be able to use all 8 gigs of my RAM. Okay, so after doing that, I just rebooted it, and if I open up the Windows on Raspberry control panel, I should see that I have all 8 gigs of my RAM enabled. So here it is. It is launched, and my memory says 6.7 is available, and in use is 8 gigs, and that makes pretty much, it makes like 7.9, and that's how much Windows shows. So this is performance, and then if we go over to overclocking, you can overclock your Raspberry Pi from here very easily. We have fan control, GPIO, about who created this. We have applications, so like Paint.net is already installed, Raymeter is already installed. These browsers, if you prefer Chromium, you can just install that, or you could install VLC, or VLC is already installed. You could install Rufus to flash OSs, and you can install 7-zip. I might need 7-zip, so I'm just going to go ahead and download that. It says it's installed, so we're good. And yeah, so you can also go to update and update your firmware, and we have settings. So I already covered Windows on Raspberry control panel, that's why I'm going through it real fast, but you can make it light if you prefer, which actually has a nice, it hurts your eyes, but it looks pretty cool. So then we have our file manager, of course, and our SD card logo. They've changed, but it looks really sick. Actually, it looks really nice. And I'm using a 60 gigabyte SD card, which you can find all of the program files, users, all of that stuff is in here. So, and then if I hit this bar, let's see what apps we have. We already have settings, calculator, camera, and we have Microsoft Store, and then we have VLC media player. So if I had a MP4 file or something like that, I could just use VLC and play it, and it would play. And then we have Paint.net, which is a really nice picture editing software, which is it's free software, and the one that is pre-installed in here is an ARM32 version. So what that means is it's gonna run well on here without having to emulate it. So I'll show you guys how the performance is and how great it works. Okay, so if we go over to File, and if we open up a picture, here's just a Raspberry Pi picture that I want to just, we can just play around with it, edit some stuff. Like, so if I got this pencil right here, or if it's a paintbrush, I'm not sure, I can draw in here, and it's not lagging. So I did test out the x86 version, and using that on here is just sad. It's so not functional. To move this paintbrush, you're like going so slow, but because this is ARM32, it is full speed. You could even do some photo editing with Paint.net on here, and it would work. The only bad thing is this Paint.net is a little bit outdated, but I mean, it's better than having to use a really slow version. So it's just, I mean, I'm just scribbling on here, but you guys could totally add new photos, make a whole thumbnail, do tons of pretty cool stuff like that on here, and you would be able to use it. I mean, like, yeah, it's a cool software, and it's cool to see this pre-installed. You don't have to do any work to install it. And a nice thing is, this Windows on Raspberry Pi build is only 7 gigs with a lot of pre-installed stuff, and the other ones are around that size, but they don't have anything pre-installed. So Amir Dahan, the creator of this, has done a lot of work on debloating this and making it as small as he possibly can. So that's about it for this Paint.net. I don't want to save it. And if we go to what other apps we have Raymeter, which is this app where you can edit your screen and do a lot of cool stuff. And we actually have one pre-installed, which I'm a huge fan of. So if I just click on Raymeter, it opens up this CPU, RAM, GPU, which it shows 0 because we don't have a GPU drivers. So of course we can't use it. This is our C drive and D drive, which we do not have. And the cool thing is, Amir Dahan uses this on his personal PC, so he's given this on here to use on Windows and Raspberry, which is an awesome little addition. So when you're using it, you can see your CPU, your RAM, GPU, which you don't have, and your C drive all on your same screen. So that's an amazing addition. I'm a huge fan of this look right here. It just looks super nice. And then of course we have the Edge browser pre-installed. So let's just go into some Googling and stuff like that. Look at that. Loads right up. We can just click on one of these things. And here we are. And nice and functional. You can just click on this charger or whatever, and it loads straight up. Yeah, really nice. Oh, it looks like my audio driver is still installed, so to be able to play YouTube, I'm gonna have to uninstall that. So I'm just gonna go in the search bar. I need to search for device manager. This doesn't take that long. So I'm just going to go over to sound and video, Raspberry Pi audio, and I want to uninstall this device. Yes, I want to uninstall it. Do I want to restart it now? No, I'll restart it later. Yeah, so I'm going to do a quick restart, and then I'll be able to play YouTube. Okay, so I just went and uninstalled my audio driver real fast. I did the reboot, of course. And now let's just go into some YouTube testing. So in this video, I'm really trying to just show you guys with what's available without installing any other software. Because other people have already covered doing that, and I just want to show what you can do on this operating system without installing anything. Or the only source of installing something would be using the Windows or Raspberry control panel, which I consider just part of this operating system. So if we just click on Big Buck Bunny, classical video, and it plays now with my audio driver uninstalled, and I made full screen, it actually went into there pretty smoothly. Just get into the middle. You definitely do notice some tearing, I mean. But is it watchable? Yes, totally watchable. Like, I don't notice it that much. But some people are pretty picky about their YouTube and tearing and stuff. I'm not really that picky. I mean, if it plays for me, that's pretty much good. But for some people, they really want it to be full 4K and stuff, which you're not going to get the best on Windows on Raspberry. But can you play YouTube at lower rates? Yes. So it's 720 right now. If I went down and made that 480, I mean, the screen tearing might be a little bit down. Yeah, so 480 is probably the, I mean, 480 is gonna be better than 360, of course. I mean, not 360, 720. 360 is gonna be better, of course. I don't know why I said that wrong. And 360 is just like that. And I mean, you can just click on show more. You can see the comments, and it's just all really nice and smooth, which I'm very happy about. And yeah, one thing that I'm really happy about is used to Googling on the Windows and Raspberry was just so not fun. Like, you just didn't want to use Google because it was so slow, it wouldn't load. But now you can, and it's just so usable. Oh, I think one thing I forgot to mention is Ethernet does work on this build. So we got these new Ethernet drivers that I talked about on another Windows and Raspberry Pi build video. And a cool thing about those Ethernet drivers, they will work with any Windows build. So from now on the Raspberry Pi 4, on any Windows on Raspberry Pi build, we should have working Ethernet. I mean, if I understood correctly, that's what should happen. Yeah, so you see, it's all so nice and usable. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and open up this Raymeter again. It closed because of my reboot. So now I can see all my CPU and RAM and stuff on the side. I'm just gonna open up the Windows on Raspberry control panel. I haven't really tested Firefox on here, and Firefox is in here, and it's an ARM64 one, and I just wanted to test it out and see how it performs. So it looks like it's a little bit of a bigger file, so it could take a little longer to download than like 7-zip for say, or something like that. And the bar is so quick and usable. Like, if 7-zip I installed, and look at that, I can just open it up and it's ARM64, so it's so nice. See, so nice and usable. Like, this is just awesome. I think one app that I forgot to talk about is Pymon, which I'm a huge fan of. You can see all the Raspberry Pi information, what UEFI I have, what Windows 10 build. So this is build 20226, if you were interested in to know what build this is. And these are my awesome information that you guys might be interested in. And so it says 7.85 is usable. There's my serial number and my revision. And now you have full screen. I thought before that maybe you didn't, but I might have just not been correct. So it says Firefox is now installed. So let's go over to Firefox and see if we think Firefox works better or if we think Edge works better. Here we are, Firefox. Let's just open it up. Oh, whoa, whoa. That is glitchy. Whoa. Yeah. So I hadn't tested this out, but so it looks like Firefox is the one, at least from the Windows on Raspberry control panel, has some issues and can't function correctly. So I wouldn't install it if I were you. I'll tell Amir and let him know to fix that. And then if we go over to applications, let's try out Chromium instead. Chromium should work because I've tested Chromium before. So I'm just gonna let that download. So it looks like Chromium is now installed. So now let's just open up Chromium. Let's just search for it. Here we are, we have Chromium web browser, and this is ARM64. So I'm expecting some good performance. I can't tell you guys yet if I think Edge or this is my go-to browser. Yeah, this is quick too, man. Whoa! This is some good performance. Let's try opening up some tabs at the same time and see how it is. I don't know, I'm just typing in random things that I use daily. That's why these are some pretty random Google searches, but, you know, it's fine. So we have Amazon here, we have Raspberry Pi, we have Zoom, this is just Google Classroom, I don't know why I did that. And we have Chrome Web Store, so it looks like it is throttling a little bit at the end right here. If we just look at our CPU, whoa, we're using a lot of CPU right now. Whew. So lots of things, tabs do use a lot of CPU. So I would recommend, if you're doing web searching, to keep it down to like not that many. Like I would say 4 is probably a good number. But you know, you could always try more. Yeah. So Chromium seems pretty slick. Just in my opinion, for Windows on Raspberry Pi, Edge is my go-to browser. It's just so nice and quick, and it's just smooth. Like Chromium is smooth too, but you do see some like slowing and freezing, but on Edge it's just like smooth too. You search something, it goes straight up and loads without like freezing or doing anything like that. But Chromium, I do see a little bit of that. So I do have to say my go-to browser for Windows on Raspberry Pi is definitely Edge. That's my preference. You guys might have a different preference, but yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, so I'm just a huge fan of this build 0.2.8 Project Neon 2.0. It might be one of my favorites so far because of the background and all the great pre-installed software. So I'll let you guys know when this is public and when you guys can download it for yourself. But until that, if you want to try it out, like I said before, you can donate to the project, or you can become a server booster and you get immediate access to this build. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and if it was, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.